We're going to get more reaction now to the King's Christmas message. I'm joined by the brilliant royal commentator, Michael Cole. Michael, thank you very much for your time. Always a pleasure. What did you make of it? Dare I say, I thought His Majesty the King had a certain bit of swagger during that performance.
Well, first of all, let me say, Darren, Merry Christmas to you and everyone at GBNews working on this very special day. I think the King got it right. The message was sincere. It was very kind. And what it was not was a tub-thumping, resounding message about the environment or the other causes with which the King is so closely associated. That had been predicted by more than one national newspaper. But the King didn't go down that route. It was a message, a universal message. And there we see him arriving with Queen Camilla, and behind him, the Prince and Princess of Wales, their three children, and on the left-hand side there, Mia Tyndall, the eldest daughter of Zara and Mike Tyndall, going into church, St. Mary Magdalene Church. And the King actually stressed the common root of the world's three great religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, in Abraham. And of course, Abraham's tomb is at Hebron in the disputed West Bank, not very far, about a half an hour's drive, actually, from Gaza. But the King, of course, did not get into politics. It was a universal message of love and appreciation. It was very different from the Queen's messages, which we got so used to. It was very specific. The Queen generally spoke about the year, where she'd been, what she'd seen, the people that she'd met, and the events of the day. His was more, shall we say, cerebral, going to themes and talking about, there we see him with the volunteers. And he made a big point of thanking people. He said, even the people you have not met yet, who may actually have a beneficial effect on your life. And I think that's a message that will be welcomed by many, many volunteers, and also people who are working on this day to make sure that we're all safe and provided with power and have all the necessaries of life. And that's important. And so I think it's his second Christmas message, and I think a good one.
Now, Michael, after this show, we've got Arlene Foster discussing faiths of the nation. Now, how important is his Anglican faith to His Majesty the King?
I think it's important. Of course, he's head of the Anglican Church. And that's why, of course, during the coronation, which we saw in May, he insisted, and I think he was quite right, on everything that was to do with the spiritual side of the coronation. I personally thought it lacked a little bit of the spirituality of his mother's coronation, which I saw as a 10-year-old in 1953. And when Richard Dimbleby, in your profession, one of the great men of broadcasting, whispered up in the attic, up in the rafters of Westminster Abbey, "The Queen is crowned." I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck, even though I was only 10 years old. It was an electric moment. I think in a way the coronation was a little bit over-rehearsed, and maybe it tried too hard to reach outside the Anglican tradition. I'll be interested to see what Eileen, who I respect greatly, has to say about this. But the Protestant religion is central to the history of this country, and it's indeed why it is a united kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So her take on it will be fascinating. As I say, she's a woman I've always greatly respected. Her father was killed in terrible circumstances. She knows all about conflicts that are dictated by religious divides. And on this day, of all days, it's a day for reconciliation, and one can only hope for that. And I think what the King was saying was pointing very, very strongly in that direction. To that extent, I think it was a huge success.
Do you think, actually, Michael, that the King has, just briefly, has the King actually blossomed in confidence? Has actually being crowned given him a certain amount of... Because, as I say at the start there, he almost, he was doing some looking away from camera, looking back into the camera. He seemed to be really enjoying himself.
Spot on, Darren. The difference is, and I've been reporting on him for 60 years, he's now a happy king. He is the merry monarch. And why is that? because he's had 18 years of happily married life. In the old days, he could only really laugh out loud with the Queen Mother. She made him laugh, but Queen Camilla has taken over that role. She makes him happy. Whenever I see him now, he is laughing or smiling.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see that during the rehearsals of the coronation. So I think it's a good thing to have a happy king.